Hey everybody, so today we're going to be discussing how long does it take for an inquiry to have an impact on your credit report. A lot of people are confused on how an inquiry even impacts them in the first place, but we'll kind of cover that, and then we'll also discuss when is it that that inquiry impacts your credit score. So as many of you may already know, the way that you get an inquiry is that you need to submit an application for credit. So this could simply be you going to a dealership, inquiring about a vehicle, submitting an application for credit, and then that dealership going and contacting multiple banks with your application and seeing which bank is going to approve you. Okay, this could be you going to a bank such as a CIBC, a BMO, submitting an application in order for you to get a credit card, a line of credit, or for you to get approved for a mortgage, right? This is how you would acquire that inquiry because the banks need to access your credit report and be able to make a decision based off of what they see. All right. Now, the downside to this is that an inquiry is going to impact your credit score. So when we do go out and we apply for credit, we want to ensure that we have a high success rate or a high approval odd for that inquiry. That way we make the inquiry worth our time. Because every time we add a new inquiry to our credit report, it is going to have a negative impact to our credit. So as soon as, let's just say, for example, we go to the dealership, okay? And then we submit that application, and then they process our application, and then they may be able to get back to you same day. Sometimes they may take a few days, okay? Now, it may take a month, and the timeline can vary depending on what products you're applying for, but it could take up to a month for that inquiry that you have processed at that car dealership to show up on your credit report. So you've already been approved for the auto loan from let's say a selected bank by the dealership, and then a month goes by and now you have this new inquiry on your credit report. As soon as that inquiry reports onto your credit report, you are going to have an immediate drop to your credit score. Okay? So I will say that again. As soon as that inquiry reports onto your credit report, there's going to be an immediate drop to your credit score. Now, on the other side of this, which is good news, is that the older that inquiry gets, the less impact that it has onto your credit score. So initially, it is going to have a huge impact. I've seen inquiries, one inquiry can drop your credit score around 20 to 30 points. So it can have a huge impact. And that 30 points may not sound like a lot, but that 30 points can be the difference between you being able to be approved. Let's say you want to rent out an apartment, right? That point difference could be the difference between you being approved or not approved, right? So it plays a major part in your credit. Now, this goes along with my train of thought of we want to ensure that we're spreading out our inquiries. Because let's do simple math. If you go out there and you get a bunch of inquiries within a short period of time, you have to ask yourself, what is that going to do for your credit? And odds are that all those products that you've applied for are not going to get approved. So I actually see this a lot for my clients that go to a dealership and that dealership runs their credit a bunch of times and they've only been approved for one auto loan because they only went there for one vehicle, but they still have 10 other inquiries on their credit report from when they went and applied for that vehicle. Now, I typically advise for them to go ahead and dispute the remaining inquiries that they don't have an account for. Usually the credit bureaus can be fairly lenient when they see that maybe at some point you were shopping for a mortgage or you were shopping for an auto loan and you have a bunch of different inquiries because they understand that when you're trying to get a house, most people aren't real estate investors, or most people don't have a toll road business or a car business where they're renting out a vehicle. So they understand that you're probably just trying to get one house or one vehicle. So they're very lenient when it comes to the removal of those inquiries. So you could go out and dispute the remainder of those inquiries. So for the everyday person, we want to make sure that we have a gap of time in between each inquiry. And that gap of time that I like is 6 months in between each inquiry. Now, this is a very conservative approach. I almost hesitate to share what the actual number is because if I if I tell someone 6 months, they'll probably do 4 months, right? So, and you probably know people like this within your own personal life. So if I tell you 6 months, then I have a really good chance that you may wait 4 months before you go out and apply for another product, which I'm happy with 4 months, right? But realistically, if you urgently need the credit, then 3 months is okay in between each inquiry. But my general rule of thumb is 6 months in between each inquiry. And that's because we want to minimize the impact that that inquiry is going to have onto our credit report. And we want to be able to space that out. But the most important thing on top of that is that we don't want to look desperate to lenders, right? So when we have a bunch of inquiries within a short period of time, it begins to make you look desperate as someone to lend money to. So I really want to I really like to paint an image when I go through these scenarios. And just imagine if someone came to you and they asked for money, but you were aware that within that week, they asked 10 other people for money, right? Now, you know in the back of your mind, they probably received some money from someone that they asked. So let's just say they've asked 10 other people, right? So they asked 10 other people for money and then they've come and asked you. So now they are at 11 people. So you know they probably received money from someone else that they've asked already. So you're going to be a little bit more hesitant to give your hard-earned money to them, right? And so the banks have this same train of thought. If they see that you have 20 plus inquiries on your credit report, they're going to ask themselves, why are you coming to me? It looks like you've already applied everywhere else. You probably already have credit. And usually they can see the items you approved for, they'll see your other accounts, and then they'll dictate. And the approval process is actually a very strenuous one, right? So not only are they looking at the inquiries, but they're looking at your debt to income ratio. So that's the amount of debt that you're carrying versus the income that you have. They're looking at your payment history. So they're looking at a bunch of other things. But just looking at or just zooming in on the inquiries within itself, if we are looking at your inquiries and we see, hey, you have a bunch of inquiries within a short period of time, and now you're coming to me asking me for money, what is it that the other banks saw where they either didn't approve you or they've already approved you? Why do you need my money? Right? So these are the red flags that are being raised when you go out into the marketplace and you apply at all these different institutions. So you have to be very wise and tactical with the timing of your inquiries. That's why I say a very conservative approach is to wait 6 months in between each inquiry. Now, again, you want to ensure that you're getting approved for those inquiries that you're applying for. Now, over time, a lot of things offset the drop of that inquiry score. So when I get that, let's just say I apply for a CIBC credit card. When I initially get that card, my credit score is going to drop because I have that new inquiry, okay? But then now I have this new account reflecting on my credit report. So it's going to have a low utilization given that I'm always paying my credit card off in time. I'm keeping the balance low. And then over time, because I'm continuously making on time payments, I'm now balancing myself out. So now I'm offsetting the effects of that inquiry. Plus, I'm not applying for any other products, right? So maximum I'm going to do is 2 inquiries within a given year. Okay. So again, this is what I'm speaking about when I'm saying being tactical, being wise about when we decide to apply for inquiries. But to answer the subject matter of this video, soon as you have that inquiry reflecting on your credit report, it is going to have a negative impact onto your credit score. Now, if you are curious on how inquiries work, maybe you've been in a situation to where you went to the dealership, they ran your credit a bunch of times, and you've been having trouble getting rid of those excess inquiries, then me and my team will be more than happy to help to assist you to dispute those inquiries. You can send us an email. I'm going to place it here at the bottom of the screen, info@kennyjohnsonuniversity.com. Even here on my YouTube page, you can click on the link. It'll take you to a page to book a free consultation call. And if you have any other questions, just drop them down in the comments, like the video. And again, until next time, take care.